the disability as a person who needs to enjoy certain rights is supposed to be able to push the needle. What would you like to see from individual persons persons with disabilities to be able to advocate for their rights? As a person who sits from a point of being able to make a bit of changes here and there, what would you really want to see more done by persons with disabilities in them agitating for their rights?
So I think there is scope to showcase and provide a platform for those persons with disabilities who have perhaps managed to overcome barriers and then demonstrate the contribution that individuals are making to society in a whole range of different ways. In the conversation we've just had, I've talked about different individuals who are coming up with innovations that are making a difference to the lives of people with disabilities. And how can we give that more of a platform, both so that can then there can be greater uptake across the population of persons with disabilities, enabling them to realise their rights, but also in areas where those rights are still curtailed, showcase what impact that has on individuals and give that, shine more of a light on the issue in order for progress to be made.
What's the future of programs such as the DAP program?
So for the DAP program, I said a year ago I was in Busia. More recently, we've been focused up in Mandera, and we want to continue to build on that platform that we've established, and including picking up and providing a platform for the progress that has been made, whether that's individual bits of innovation or entrepreneurship, and how those can be scaled up further.
Welcome back from that break, and that is the acting British High Commissioner Dr. Ed Barnett sharing on what he thinks that OPDs and persons with disabilities on a personal level should be able to do to move the needle on matters inclusion, and what he thinks is the future of the DAP of ADAPT, that is the Digital Access Program. Mr. Samson, let us start with what persons with disabilities can be able to do. You've said Kenya Society for the Blind is turning 70 that next year. That is a whole person who has grandchildren. What might you have to share in terms of what persons with disabilities on an independent level would be able to do to push the needle on matters inclusion?
Basically is to take the future into your own hands and put to it that this is how you are going to do it to achieve the most attainable heights that you see you want to reach. And Alan, you know, we've come from far. When you tell me a KSB could be a 70-year-old senior citizen and what it has gone through. When we read the Bible, we read stories of disabilities and how they used to be approached. Well, I don't want to open a theological and doctrinal interpretation of the Bible, but this just informs us of where we are today. What models have we been through? And you can see this Bible stories, that is the age of God. When KSB was established, we were in the charitable model where the approach to disability was sympathy and pity, and you give someone this today and you don't know how tomorrow they'll survive. Probably there'll be another good Samaritan or a Samaritan who comes from wherever. And remember, then and now, disability is not in the brain, it's not in the mind. It's just an aspect of maybe sensory or physical, and you cannot interact with your environment on an equal basis with others, and so things are done differently. So other models got tested, medical, could it be cured? To some extent, maybe it worked, to others it didn't. They still have, and there was a lot of persons with disabilities, and then the social model kicked in, where we use rehabilitative interventions to restore the person. And today, with the UNCRPD and the SDGs, we are in the human rights era where persons with disabilities are holders of right, and thereby anything that they need in the community, it's a basic right, and that's why we have Article 54 of the Constitution. So how does it feed into the person? One is perception. As a person with disability, how do you deal with the way the environment gives you barriers, and how do you deal with the way the community, that is other persons, have attitudinal barriers which could hinder the attainment of your standards, your basic human needs. And how you deal with these two aspects ends up placing you where you are or you want to be. So for me, is looking at now the landscape of the community-based inclusive development. And we've been trained with the Christian Blind Mission in terms of how this interacts when it comes to persons with disabilities, because for CBN, disability is a consequence of poverty. And you will see to it that even if you have a disability and you come from a well-off background, you'll become an adult. And nobody will want to give you every time feeding. They will not look for you a wife. You'll not be asking someone to provide for you. So at the end of the day, you need dignity, right? And so if this is the case, it means we have to eliminate any barriers that still put a person with disability in that level of poverty. And that's why the digital access and the technology bit is a big enabler towards empowering this person to have their future in their own hands. You can take your device, you can register a business name through government. You can begin looking even for tenders. Yeah, you can get into the market space and sell your own things. When you earn your money, it really gives you that fulfillment that you have. When you look in the education sector, how do we want a person with disability to look like? Education is the equalizer. But for a person with disability, education is one and the only thing that can really make you be seen as to have that disability or be seen to have abilities. And what I've experienced is when you depend on people as a person with disability, then they relate with you and believe that what they are doing for you, they are doing because you have a disability, and that's charity. But when you relate with people, especially at the family level, yes, you're the provider. Everybody looks up to you. They even forget that you really have that disability. And finally, we have to look into the aspect of inclusion. Where have we come from? We've come from what we call integration. And how did integration view a person with disability? Integration viewed persons with disabilities as the problem. That's why they would look for intervention to restore you, to enable you a bit function. For instance, if you have been enrolled to a school where we had integrated education, they would just work on you to give you the skills to navigate that landscape. And then after integrated education, when you've been maybe to a school for the blind and all you know is Braille, you go to the university, you then cannot interact with the lecturer. You write in Braille, the lecturer has never come across it. So they'll need someone to de-Braille that work. And if there is none, maybe that exam will get lost somewhere. You end up have missing marks, not graduating. Yet the difference between you and that person who doesn't have a disability is that certificate that you would have and enable you to get employment. But now inclusion has come in. What is inclusion? The problem is not the person with disabilities, it's the environment and the attitudinal barrier that others have towards a person with disability.
Yeah.
And that is where we are today. And how can we leverage on this? So that's why you see DAP is eliminating digital access barriers, making platforms accessible, and giving opportunities to persons with disability to see, hey, I can do this on my phone, I can go and do my own stuff without really having to depend on others. So that's how the inclusion bit comes in. For organizations of and for persons with disabilities. Same story. And what I've just explained from an individual perspective, and you now take it and make it now to organizations. Where are we today? Same issues we are grappling with, funding, limited funding among OPDs, meaning especially organizations that are led by persons with disabilities themselves are really showing that they have an understanding of where more investments should be made for there to be a real impact. And this is where OPDs need to come to. They need to allow persons with disabilities to own the conversation, even if they are not leaders in that organization. Let them be the people from whom what you are talking and what you are doing is them who feel it, it's them who really get impacted. So we've also come from a point where people wanted to say and think for us. Like many times we could get to a place and what does he want? And it's a hotel. And there are very many choices, but they will ask my assistant what I want. But in this era of inclusion and how OPDs should function, let's take time to gather the views, to gather really what persons with disabilities feel and how they feel they could be lifted out of where they are and taken to the next level, because it is them this work is being done for. So it makes more sense that then persons with disabilities themselves should own community projects. There should be multi-sectoral approach, and this is the spirit of community-based inclusive development, as well as enabling us to really be on that accelerative phase of attaining the sustainable development goals, because you're almost in 2030. And you can see still a lot has to be achieved.
Absolutely. We're only 5 years away. In winding up, what next for DAP? Of course, we hinted about track 4 of DAP, and also what would be your closing remark on this conversation that we've had today?
Well, really enlightening, and getting to talk to you, Alan, every time I feel refreshed and more of someone who is scaling different heights. The other day we were just scaling Mount Longonot, Kenya Society for the Blind, just raising awareness and support for education and assistive devices for learners with visual impairment. And this should be the goal of everyone. I think now in DAP we are putting together a roadmap for what digital access should look like and what we can now take to the next level. So we really, as I told you, brought in the justice sector. We hope we can bring in also the legislative sector, because where laws are made and where is where things are shaped in our parliaments, in our county assemblies. And so we will also see if we can put in a strategy to try and bring all these people on board, so that we have the whole government buying into the importance of digital access for persons with disabilities, for senior citizens, and for the most marginalized. And then now taking this together with the new Disability Act and the National Disability Policy to see what more now can we do to really tighten the nuts and what we have been able to achieve in terms of sustaining the quick wins and bringing others on board. So that will be in a roadmap that we are working on, and I think it will be out. It's an extremely, it has been brought together by the stakeholders, both from the executive, from the government, and organizations for and of persons with disabilities, in terms of what we want to see and how we think we can really get there. And that's what we are working on, and we hope as we come back still really want to appreciate the British High Commission and the UK government for taking this as a major priority in terms of meeting the commitments of the Global Disability Summit and really showing the power of Kenya and the power of bringing the marginalized into the digital grid. I would call it the digital grid, because we've not had many people in the digital grid, so that they can be empowered meaningfully, intentionally, with a view to having them own their future and their processes.
Yeah.
So I think from this we'll be seeing a more support towards training in other areas, and also we hope that we can still continue to get the support from the British High Commission in terms of scaling up the gains of bringing more government services, making them more accessible, sensitizing web developers and IT people to make their digital platforms accessible. And I think that really brings a luminous future for Kenyans with disabilities, and also for many, many people who really want to see a truly inclusive country. Thank you very much, Alan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samson. And of course, when you empower a person with a disability, then there is a trickle-down effect to even the family members of that person with a disability. So you're not only impacting the person with a disability, but you're also impacting the society around that person with a disability.
Great.
I hope you have been able to pick a thing or two from this conversation. And of course, if you're just joining us, you're going to be getting all the snippets on our social media platforms, which I beseech you to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel for all around the clock updates and informative and entertaining content. I've been your host, Alan Hubbard. Sign language interpreter has been Gideon Miner, and in studio we have been with Mr. Samson Waweru. He is the Executive Director of Kenya Society for the Blind, who the organization now is a senior citizen, as they will be turning 70 next year. Good morning, and let us see you tomorrow.